What is up, everybody? Hope you had a good weekend. We are back with another episode of Big Five Pod, episode number 18. I am co-host Kyle Morello, and with me here, as always, the one and only Jay Copestick. How we doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well. I'm doing better than the rest of the Big Five. Unfortunately, it was kind of a rough weekend that we'll get into, but I'm doing well. Just relaxed on my couch and watch football today. I mean, what more can you ask for on a Sunday?
No.
So I'm doing well. But as for the rest of the Big Five, I don't think we can say the same.
Yeah, no, nice and relaxing Sunday for me too. Watched the Premier League this morning. It was my roommate's birthday. We went out for that. Nice Arsenal Tottenham game there. Watching football. Unfortunately saw a buzzer beater I didn't want to see that we'll go over in a little bit here. But yeah, no, it's good, but unfortunately not like the rest of the Big Five. So without further ado, why don't we just take a dolphin dive right into the disgustingness that was the weekend in Big Five basketball. Well, we'll start out on a good note. We'll start out with a win that, if it wouldn't have been a win, it would have been very concerning. But St. Joe's did beat Loyola Chicago 86-55. It was a smacking. Lynn Greer, the third, haven't called his name in a while, but he had a really good game, 17 points on 6-10 from the field. Kasper Klaczyk, nice bounce back game here, 17 points on 5 of 9 from the field. Eric Reynolds had 13 off 3 of 11, so not the most efficient game from him. And Mr. Obina had 8 and 8. So a pretty good game from him. They shot 45% from the field, 46.7 from 3. They forced 19 turnovers. Of course, they still had 13 because nothing is perfect in the Big Five land. But positive turnover ratio for them, which doesn't really ever happen. And they won rebounding, 37-29, which is definitely important. So, obviously 31-point game. It was a blowout. Loyola Chicago is the worst team in the A-10. I'm glad they can officially take that claim from St. Joe's. I know it's not much of a measuring stick, but what are some things you saw that you liked in this game?
So they shot the ball well, number one. It was a good shooting day. Like you said, Lynn Greer, he came into this game only having made 3-3-pointers all year, and he smashed that, in one game. Had more threes this game than he's had all season. So it was a good shooting game from Lynn Greer, his best game of the year. They turned Loyola over, which, I guess you can say that's a positive for St. Joe's, but as we talked about, Loyola is a team that's going to turn the ball over a ton. They got a lot of young players, a lot of new players from last year. Drew Valentine's the youngest coach in D1, doesn't have the experience that he was able to rely on last year. Not to say he's a bad coach by any stretch, but he's still a young guy. He's in his second year. He's got a new crop of guys. So like you said, they're unfortunately the worst team in the A-10.
New conference too, which is definitely an adjustment.
Exactly. They're stepping up a little bit in weight class here. Although it's been a down year for the A-10, it's still a step up over the Missouri Valley Conference that they were in. So they're finding that out the hard way. Unfortunately, a lot of turnover, a lot of new players for the Ramblers. But Joe's they made a lot of shots. Nice to see them just get a win. It's not like they're playing a great team here. But you got to laud them for the win. The way they were able to respond in the first half. Loyola came back with a little bit of a run, made it a close game, and then Joe's pulled away. So it's a good win for the Hawks. I'm not going to take a ton from it because it is against a bad team with a young coach and a lot of new players. But just nice to see them get in the win column. And we hope they can win more games in the A-10, and that hopefully that this isn't their only one. They'll obviously have more opportunities. One coming up that we'll talk about, but just nice to see them get in the win column.
Definitely. And, sometimes you just need to see one go through. Exactly. So whether it's in the micro of shooting in basketball or the macro and winning games of basketball, sometimes you just need to see one go through. So good for them beating an opponent that they should have beaten. Now go out, maybe try to beat an opponent that maybe you weren't supposed to. That's the next step here. So good for them, and we will be talking about them again shortly, which I'm excited for. All right, moving on. It all goes downhill from here, unfortunately. We really picked a very interesting time to start a Big Five podcast when it's the worst year probably in recent memory for Big Five basketball. But we're going to give you guys coverage regardless, and good coverage at that. Great coverage. So Butler on Friday beat Villanova 79-71 at Butler, of course. The Bulldogs shot 56.5% from the field, which is something for Nova's defense. They also shot 52% from the field, though Nova did. So a lot of shot making in this game, which is really cool to see. Nova had 15 turnovers, which is pretty uncharacteristic of them. They did win rebounding 27-20, but other than that, I mean, they kind of just got outclassed a little bit in this game. They uh weren't able to do as well as Butler did making baskets, and they got to take care of the ball. In terms of individual players, Eric Dixon had 22 points and 6 rebounds, 9 of 12 from the field. It's a good day for him. Caleb Daniels also had 21 points, but a little less efficient, 8 of 17. Not awful, but not the best. Kay Whitmore, 12 and 8. Not an insane game. He did have a pretty impressive dunk in this one. But definitely contributions. But outside of that, they really didn't get a ton from anyone else. It was an interesting one, but now they've lost 3 straight Big East games, and obviously games in general. Not the direction that we thought this team was going in a couple weeks ago, even. What is there to say at this point? What is, I know, we're going to talk about the Georgetown game in a little bit coming up on Monday, and that should be hopefully a bounce back spot, and we'll get there. But this is looking bleak right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I felt that they should have won this game. They should have beat DePaul as well. But it just kind of starts for me defensively. Whether it's and we can talk about the turnovers as well, but defensively, guys going under on screens, a couple blow bys in the first half, and especially on dribble handoffs. I mean, there was a lot of plays where Simas Lukosius, he hit a couple threes where off a dribble handoff, he just stopped and popped, where whoever is the player that's going to switch onto the ball handler has to step up, stuff like that. Communication and switching on defense has to be better. And I feel like that's where their woes kind of start here. And especially late in games too, like what Nova was so good at, especially the last 5-6 years going on their run, 2 championships, 3 Final Fours with Jay Wright. They were very good at closing out games. Now, that's partly because they're very good at shooting free throws. They still are this year. And they're able to put teams away and not squander leads missing free throws. But they were so good late in games. And you're just not seeing that this year. They got to get stops defensively late. The communication, the switching, dribble handoff, screens, guys going under. Defensively is where I think their biggest problem is right now. And they're going to have to improve that. And the thing with them is, they're in these games. They're not getting blown out. They just got to be able to get stops late in the game and close these out like we've seen them the last 5 years. It's kind of been a flip script here with how good they've been late game, as opposed to this year. So defensively, they got to get stops. In my opinion, that's where it starts, and that's where things will start to get better. But the turnovers as well. It's very uncharacteristic of a Villanova team to turn the ball over that many times. Having said that, I did really like the way that this team responded coming out of halftime. Butler goes on a 17-6 run over the last 5 minutes of the first half, and Nova was down 10. Come out, quick 8-0 run. They grabbed the lead. Lukosius had a great game, his best game this season. They just weren't able to get stops late, and that's what ended up killing them. So defensively, I think some of that has to do with the youth as well. They lose if you include the Justin Moore injury, you're down Justin Moore, Jermaine Samuels, and Gillespie from last year. You're down 3 guys that could shoot, experienced guys that would defend. And you replace that with a bunch of youth, with Housen, who's had to play more, Longino out, and Mark Armstrong, and then Cam Whitmore. I felt like guys are going after him. I felt like they went after him defensively here, especially on those dribble handoffs. If he's not going to step up, guys are going to shoot, and they were leaving guys open. So, but part of that is the youth. Nova switches everything. Communication has to be crystal clear on defense for them to do what they do. And I think they're showing a little bit of youth right now in that department. So, good thing is they have a game coming up against Georgetown that we'll get into that I think that can kind of get them back on track and can give them a win. But in this game, defensively, especially in the first half and then late in the game, is where everything killed them. Like I said, I like the way they responded in the second half. But I just thought that they dug themselves, they a double-digit deficit at halftime, and they just kind of dug themselves a hole they couldn't get out to at the end of the game. But they're battling, they're still competing like we know that they will. Just with defense and their youth and among other things, they just weren't able to close this one out.
Yeah, there's some things that they're gonna have to figure out down the stretch here this season, because they're sitting up below 500 right now, which is a very, very unfamiliar place. 8 and 10. if they even lose one or two like more games like this, they're probably not making the tournament unless they win the Big East.
I think it's
Big
already
East
at that
tournament,
point
that
now,
is.
to be
I
honest
think
with you.
we, yeah, I
I
think
think
you're
we're
right.
there. And it
I
might
think we're
honestly
there.
been there after the DePaul loss. And look, the thing is, they'll have plenty of opportunities and big ones at that, because they're going to have to play Xavier and Marquette. They played some of these teams at home. Now they're going to have to go play them on the road. So to pick up a road victory against a team like that will probably be ranked at the time too, could definitely be huge for them. So there is opportunities for them to stack good wins, but like it's not like, okay,
But
if
the
we lose
losses are
one,
there
like,
already.
yeah, the thing is, like, you're not going to get punished. I think I said this last episode. If you lose to Xavier, or even if you lose to Marquette, like they were close games, like that doesn't sink you. But like you need these wins now is the thing. So unfortunately, right now, I do think it's kind of Big East tournament or bust, but they will have opportunities to at least give themselves a fighting chance.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, as it stands right now, it's pretty much, the season is kind of the Big East tournament now. Like, I think
Yeah.
that all eyes are, and obviously you can't do that, but tournament hopes wise, like, I think the Big East tournament is their only shot.
It absolutely is. I mean, there's no question. Like they usually when it's at large teams, depending on there's obviously different factors with schedules and what kind of wins and losses they have. But generally speaking, when you have at large teams like this from power conferences, you get like a maximum of like 12 losses before it's like, okay, like your bubbles burst. Maybe 13 if it's like a special kind of situation, which with this Nova team, maybe because they were ranked in the beginning of the year, and going into the year. But like we're at the brink of it right now. They're at 10 losses. There's some bad losses in there. So there's not even a ton of good wins.
I mean, their best win right now is a win over Oklahoma, which
Yeah,
Oklahoma's not a
they're
bad
a good
team.
team.
They're teetering around the bubble right now, but still, like, I don't think a win. No, I shouldn't even say think. A win over a bubble team, if that's
Shouldn't be
your
your best
marquee
win.
win right now, you're not getting in. So they have a lot of work to do. But like I said, they will get those opportunities. But I mean, right now it is 1,000,000% an uphill battle
Yeah,
to get in
it's
for sure.
it's going to be tough for them, but praying they can turn it around and get in there, but it's definitely looking doubtful on the main line right now. So we'll see what happens there. All right, we're gonna move on though. We talked about Nova playing a lot of close games. This one was a really close game. Fordham and LaSalle, Tom Gola Arena. Fordham squeaking by the Explorers 66-64. Was a really, really good game. LaSalle shot 47% from the field, actually, and Fordham only shot 39% from the field. So they did outshoot them on offense. But the thing that shot themselves in the foot, 17 turnovers, as we always talk about, especially with this LaSalle team. I think this LaSalle team, them and Penn are probably the worst defenders of the turnovers. St. Joe's too. I mean, it's different, but not really. But anyway, they did have 17 turnovers, which isn't good. They also were only 13 at 19 from the line, which you make a few more of those. That's the difference in the game. Khalil Brantley, great game again. 19 points, I'm sorry, on 7 of 15 from the field. Jameer Brickus, 12 points on 4 of 8 from the field. And Mark Gill had 11 on 5 of 10 off the bench. So good game from him too. Listen, they always get at least 2 guards in every game to play well. Usually Brantley's one of them. And then it's a combination of either Brickus, Gill, Nickelberry, whoever. Morero even too. But I mean, this is just, I'm not even going to, I'm not going to read LaSalle the riot act like I would for maybe for St. Joe's or Nova or Temple or whatever, or Penn. We'll get into Penn and Temple in a second. But LaSalle won 2 really close games against teams that are better than them in A-10 play. And they lost a really close game against a team that's better than them in A-10 play. I think right now they are the best performing team in the Big Five. Just purely based off of results. I'm not saying they are the best team in the Big Five, obviously, but does this loss mean a lot to you in terms of the fact that, having a negative outlook on the rest of the year for LaSalle? Or is this encouraging? I mean, like, hey, even though obviously Florida might be a little bit of a lucky team this year, they're still a good team and their record reflects that.
So I guess I'm not really one for moral victories either. I'm sure any coach isn't. There is some good they can take from this game. I mean, Khalil Brantley's been on a tear lately ever since he got back from his injury, which has been nice. But it's the turnovers that still shoot them in the foot, like you said. Unfortunately, again, they had a bunch. Anwar Gills had turnover problems the whole year, and I think he had 6 or 7 off the bench. So you have to cut down on that. But the thing is, like I said, I'm not really one for moral victories. But this is a game that, again, like they put themselves in a position to win. It's just little things that it's not the opponent was doing to them. They turned the ball over. They were missing free throws. So like there is positives you can take for sure, but they've been playing well enough, and then the 2 wins over Rhode Island and UMass that they thought they could win this one over a pretty good team in Fordham in the A-10. So sure, there's stuff, there's good, you got to take the good out of any situation, but for them, like, it's not like they're St. Joe's right now that just picked up a win over Loyola, the worst team in the league, to get their first win. Like they're actually they feel like they can compete. They've gotten off to a pretty good start. And because of that, like they're of course pissed off that they lost this game. They thought they had a chance to win when they, a lot of self-inflicted wounds took them away from that. So yeah, you can take some good from this game for sure, but it's when it's like the same things that kind of nag you, that's where it hurts. That's definitely where it hurts. They've had games this year where they turn the ball over a ton. And then they actually get into conference play here, and then they turn it over a lot, and they kind of squander a home game here that they thought they should have won. So sure, you can take good from this game, but there's areas that are like continuing to nag you. Gotta make sure you clean those up, because hey, like I said, like the A-10 seems like it's pretty open to me. Dayton just blew a lead at home, and VCU beat them. We all thought that St. Louis and Dayton would be ranked. Like there's a lot of parity in the conference this year. So to me, it's wide open, and you're going to need these games. So yeah, you can take positives, like I said, but they're feisty. They feel like they can compete, and to drop one at home like that on a last second shot, I mean, it's definitely a killer. So good thing is they got a home game tomorrow. They got another one, quick turnaround. But it's definitely sucks for them. I'm sure they're all pissed off because they very well could have won this game.
Very, very winnable game. Hopefully they don't, hopefully this doesn't deter them, and they can, bounce back and win the game that we will talk about, which is definitely like our feature game of the Big Five this week, obviously. But they've been playing good ball. They just need to cut back on the turnovers. They got to clean it up a little bit. But other than that, which I'm saying other than that, like I don't mean it like at how it's a significant issue, because it is a significant issue. You got to clean it up. But everything outside of turnovers, they've been playing well, and they have 1 or 2 less turnovers in this game, they win the game. It's that simple. So they just got to clean that up, and hopefully they'll be able to do so on Monday. All right, we're going to move on. This might be the most disappointing game in the Big Five this weekend that we're about to go over. Dartmouth beat Penn on their home floor, 75-71 on Dartmouth's home floor. I mean, not Penn, obviously. This is not a game that Penn should have lost. This is not a game that Penn should have been close with Dartmouth. A big reason for the loss, they only shot 25% from 3, which is obviously not something you want to see from a team that shoots the ball a lot, like from 3. They were out rebounded 38-30. They did only have 7 turnovers, which is good for them. They're not always the best with turnovers, but only 7's not bad. It's going to be an interesting box score I'm going to read off for you here a little bit. Max Martz, 22 points and 7 boards, 8 of 12 from the field. Nick Spinoso, also 22 points on 8 of 10 from the field, which is, usually when you have your 2 leading scorers, you think of Jordan Dingle and you think of Clark Slackert. Was not the case in this game. Those 2 were missing shots like crazy. Dingle had 14 points, 5 of 18 from the field, and Slackert didn't even reach double figures. It was just an ugly game. It was a game that there's no reason that they should have lost, and especially only turning the ball over 7 times. But when you get the kind of production from your stars, granted they had people step up, which Nick Spinoso and Max Martz, like great for them for stepping up. They needed to in this game, but only shooting 25% from 3 is not going to cut it. What are your takeaways from this? Not even just from this game, but like Penn is kind of getting into the habit of losing games like this. At some point, they're going to, you don't want this to become the definition of their season, because it's kind of starting to already. This is a team expected to be in the top 4 of the Ivy League. And I don't want to say they're completely in danger of missing that yet. There's still a lot of basketball to play. There's about, 6 weeks left of the regular season, but I feel like there's something that should be talked about with this Penn team. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean they got to be better at closing out games. Even in the non-conference, they go to overtime with both St. Joe's and LaSalle, and they end up dropping those games. So they just got to be better in close games. And they had some Jordan Dingle, although he didn't have a good game, he had some looks. He just wasn't able to knock them down in the last couple seconds. He had 2 or 3 3-point attempts, and unfortunately he just missed. I've talked all year that they're going to need other guys to step up, and they got that today. With and they got that with Spinoso and Martz stepping up. If you would have told me that both of them would have had 22, I would have said, well, how many they win by? I would have said that. I would have thought that they would have blown Dartmouth out of the water here. But when your two best guys have poor shooting games, it's obviously it's tough. One of the leading backcourts, if not the leading backcourt in the country, when they have a bad game, it's going to be tough to win. Even though they were in a position to win at the end, they just weren't able to knock shots down. Sometimes it happens. You're going to have off games like this. They put themselves in a position to win. You talk about they only had 7 turnovers. They didn't really kill them, but when you get out rebounded, it's just little things. It's little things like that can make a difference when you lose on the board. That when you lose on the boards, like this is easily a game again that they could and should have won, and they put themselves in the position to win. Martz and Spinoso were huge. Like I said, I would have told you. I would have asked how many they won by if you would have told me that was their box score. Unfortunately, their top 2 guys just couldn't get it done. You're going to have cold shooting games. You would hope that it's only one of the guys has a bad night and the other guy can carry him. But they both got cold, and that was the difference. A couple free throws here, a couple shots go down, different story. But they got to be better closing out in the late game. But it's little things, man. It's little things. They missed some free throws that again could have been the difference in the game. Got out rebounded. It's small stuff like that even when you don't play your best game scoring wise, it's other things like that can sink you. So look, they got work to do in the Ivy League. They're obviously no shoe-in now. They were the preseason favorite by myself and a lot of other people to end up making the tournament because I did think that they are the best team in the conference. But they got work to do now. There is another league where there's a lot of parity. We're going to talk about their game coming up against Princeton. Princeton just lost to Brown. Yale lost to Dartmouth. There's a lot of parity in this league now. So it's kind of anybody's game right now, at least. So they got work to do. They're going to have to start stacking wins, but they got to be able to close games out here. And they're definitely going to need a huge bounce back game from Clark Slackert and Jordan Dingle to get it done against a good Princeton team coming in. But got to get better at closing out games. But it's little things. They were far from their best in the Dartmouth game. Still had a chance to win at the end, but it's little things like that, man. Rebounds, free throws, and stuff like that. So they got to be better late games. But again, long season, more opportunities. They got a big one that we'll talk about, but they got to be better late in games and closing stuff out.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, they have
This is
very
not to cut you off. This is also a game that they blew a lead in.
Yes,
They were winning.
They like to do that, unfortunately. Yeah. This Princeton game coming up, we'll definitely talk about in a few moments here, but it's a quality opponent. Dartmouth was not a quality opponent, and they found a way to lose that game. They're gonna have to find a way to win against a quality opponent at Princeton. Someone else who will probably be in the top 4 of the Ivy League come March. So we'll see what happens. We'll get to that one in a second. I do want to go over this one that happened. We were recording this on Sunday night. This ending happened on Sunday late afternoon. Temple losing on a buzzer beater by Kendrick Davis to Memphis. 61-59 was the final score at the Leocore Center. Oof. It was. Listen, you want to talk about games that are rock fights? This was a rock fight. This is an ugly one. Damian Dunn, 23 points on 5-11 from the field. Nick Jourdain, 16 and 10, also on 5-11 from the field. So good for both of them, had good games. Someone who did not have a good game was Caleb Battle. 6 points, 1 of 10 from 3. Just brutal. The entire game, both sides was brutal shooting. Temple shot 29% from the field. And listen, we said that Memphis's defense was going to get after them, and they did. But I didn't think it was going to be that bad. 29% from the field. Shooting under 30% from the field is Wow. Memphis shot 38% themselves. And then you're going to laugh at this. Temple shot 13.8% from three, and Memphis shot 17.4% from three. It's brutal. But in addition to their poor shooting, Temple turned the ball over 17 times, which obviously we've talked about it time and time again with every Big Five team. It's going to kill you. Turnovers are always going to kill you. When you get over like that 14, 15 mark, like that's when it just becomes embarrassingly bad. They did win rebounding 48-31, including 17 offensive rebounds, which is definitely something that we had talked about coming in was a factor for Temple. And I'm glad that they won that. That kept them in the game. But ultimately they had every chance to win this game. It was a very, very back and forth game. I don't think that either team really led by a ton. Actually, Temple led by 8 at one point in the second half. But you knew that with how good this Memphis team was, that probably wasn't going to hold. And it didn't. And it came down to the wire. I mean, Damian Dunn hit a huge three to tie it up at 59, and then Kendrick Davis hits the winning shot toward the baseline. But what do you take away from this one? Because there's a lot and also not a ton, I feel like, to really take away from this one.
So again, had a chance to win at the end, like we've talked about with a couple Big Five teams here. They blew a lead. Just comes down to late game stuff. I thought the defense on the Kendrick Davis shot maybe could have been a little bit better. I thought the switch maybe was a little bit late when you kind of knew there was only a couple seconds left. They didn't have a ton of time to do much. They wanted to get the ball to Kendrick Davis, but regardless, I thought it was also like a pretty solid contest from Nick Jordan. He made Kendrick Davis put up a very, very tough shot. But turnovers, man. We've talked about a lot of Big Five teams, this Temple team as well. Hyser Miller did not have a good game. 4 points. He had 5 turnovers, 1 of 9 from the field, over 7 from 3. Got hounded by one of the best players in America, and Kendrick Davis, guy who could go back-to-back AAC Players of the Year on 2 different teams, which I don't think anybody's ever done in any conference. I'd have to fact check to see, but he went up against one of the best players and best point guards that they're going to see all season, maybe the best one that they will see all season. And unfortunately, Hyser Miller felt that wrath today, and Kendrick Davis hit a 40 bomb against UCF. I told you they were going to come into this game pissed off, wanting to get a win after what happened earlier this week in the UCF game that they lost. It went to double OT. But, you look at some positives here. Yeah, they weren't shooting the ball well. They turned it over a lot, but they dominated the glass. I told you that, especially in the offensive end, getting second chance opportunities. And that's what was huge today. They couldn't make any shots, but guess what? When you give yourself 2 and 3 shots at it, you're going to be more successful and you're going to make more simply because you get more attempts. So the glass was great. Another good rebounding day from Jaleel White with 11 boards. I thought Nick Jordan gave him some good energy. 16 and 10, he had 3 blocks, being the mobile rim protector, even a little bit smaller than he can be. So I guess there's, like I said, I'm not really big on moral victories, but there's some good that they can take. But now it's like, hey, we could be 5-1 in the conference game coming up against East Carolina, who they've already beat, or it's like 4-2. You play this East Carolina game, 4 of your next 5, you got to play Houston twice, and you got to go to UCF, and it's going to get very, very tough for them. And that nice conference record start that they got off to could dwindle pretty quickly. So this is a good team that they could have got a very quality win against, but Memphis they came in pissed off. They needed this one. They couldn't lose this one. They kept their tournament hopes alive with this win. And Kendrick Davis is big time. He was one of the best players in the country, probably the best player in this conference for the second year in a row. And he made a big time shot to lift the Tigers here. So there's some things you can clean up for sure every game. Turnovers has to be, and then they just couldn't make anything. But still, like I've said time and time again with this Temple team, the conference games, they're rock fights. Like you said, they're ugly. Both teams shot poorly, and this game was it ended up 61-59, very low scoring game. They gave themselves a shot to win at the end. They just couldn't make enough shots. The turnovers killed them. Getting ripped by Kendrick Davis. I think he had 3 steals in this game. Hyser Miller turned it over 5 times. So they're competitive. That's a really, really good team, top 3 in this league. And they were with them right there until the end. But you gotta, when you go up 8 points, especially on a good team like that, you got to find a way to put them away. And and pick up a win if they want to reach that next level that we thought this Temple team could be at. So who knows? Maybe if they have Jamil Reynolds for this game, maybe it's a different story. But there's definitely some good you could take. Damian Dunn's been on a tear lately. Another 20-point game from him. But they just didn't make enough shots today. Sometimes the ball doesn't go through the hoop. It's just basketball. Just how it goes. Like I said, dominated the glass. It was great, but really, really tough way to lose when you could have went 5-1 in the conference with a win, and to get killed at the buzzer like that. I mean, it definitely hurts, man. And we were feeling good again about this Temple team that was able to squeak out ugly wins so far in conference play. Just couldn't get it done today and didn't make enough shots.
Yeah, I mean, definitely one that they would have loved to have had, but it's kind of been the story of the season with the inconsistencies. So hopefully they bounce back from this. They have some other big ones coming up in this next week that we'll definitely get to over the next couple of episodes. Yeah, hopefully they just, have a kind of short memory, and hopefully they make more shots in the next game, obviously, but then move on. Just like we're about to move on to the upcoming games of this week. Listen, most of these are on Monday. There's one on Wednesday that we'll get to with our aforementioned Temple Owls, but we'll start at noon on Monday. Georgetown taking on Villanova at the Finn. This is a get right spot for them. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is a game they need to have. Georgetown's 233rd in Ken Palm. Some of their key stats, they're 281st in effective field goal percentage, which is definitely not good. They're also 284th in 3-point percentage on offense. So this is not a good offensive team. It's not a good team overall. I will say they were tied at halftime in the first meeting between Georgetown and Villanova. Obviously, Villanova came back and won that game pretty handily. But if they drop this one, there will be far more major concerns than we ever even could have imagined. Are you kind of on that same wavelength, or do you think something else here?
Oh, I mean, you have to be. You're going to hit rock bottom essentially in the low point in the season if you drop this game to a Georgetown team that last time we talked, when they played them, they hadn't won a high major game in like 30 some tries. That streak is still going on. You don't want to,
or at least the Big East game in 25, which I think is probably cleaver toward 30 now.
You don't want to be the team that breaks that, and that would be the ultimate crash and burn here to the small spiral that they've been going on with the losses. Obviously, we're not talking about a team that's as bad as Georgetown, Villanova. It's not like the season is done. There's obviously still some to play for here. So they definitely need a win to kind of get themselves right. Like you said, I do think this is a spot where they will. I don't see how they lose to this team. What they got to do in the second half, they played a lot better. They were not turning the ball over. But if Georgetown, who's not a good shooting team, is going to take a lot of jump shots, then let them. They were able to make some, and that's why this game was close in the first half. So cut down on the turnovers. Number one, I think even if they just do that, they will win this game handedly. But force Georgetown to be a jump shooting team that they're not good at, and if they're not smart enough to stray away from that and try something else, then so be it, and let them do it. But let them take bad jump shots, especially if they're cold. Give that to them, So there's that's, I guess, is like the keys to the game. But this is a game they got to have. I do think this is a get right spot for them. They're back at home at the Finn tomorrow, so I do think that they'll get right. Look, if you look at the first 10 or so minutes of that second half of that Butler game, they did play very well. Cutting down on turnovers, turning over. Butler definitely helped them out as well. But just don't shoot yourself in the foot. Force them to be a jump shooting team. They're going to have to make some of their own. I think Brandon Slater could have a nice game here. They're going to need more from him against a bad team that I'm not sure on Brandon Murray's health. I will tweet something out about that. But yeah, this is a team that they should definitely beat. Don't really think I need to go in length anymore about what they need to do.
No, I don't
They
think
should
so
beat
either.
this team. They haven't won in a while. And if they're that team that breaks Georgetown's losing streak, then yes, we can slam the panic button to the point that it breaks. But I do think they will get right. I unless they turn it over a ton and they miss everything, I don't see how they lose this game. So I do think that they'll get right here.
Yeah, I'm gonna just say this: if they lose this game, I think there's gonna have to be like an emergency Twitter Spaces on Monday that we might have to host, because this would be really bad if they did lose
Yeah,
this.
I'm sure
Now,
the full 40. Shout out to the full 40 and those guys. They ran a great Twitter space. They got Colin Gillespie,
yes,
they got
see
Alan
that.
Ray on, they got Brunson to hop in there. They got a bunch of people. Went in for over 3 hours. I listened to a little bit the beginning and the end, which is cool. I don't know many other fan bases that do that and have former players step in there and talk. Gillespie was on a road trip with the Nuggets and he like stepped out, had to leave to go to dinner. So that was pretty cool that he hopped on. But shout out to those guys. It was awesome for 3 hours to have all the fans hop in there and ask questions to the players and then the guys from the full 40 as well. It was awesome. We will probably not get that many people if we had it. I wish I had
Or
some
current
connections.
NBA players,
Yeah, I wish I
but
had some connections to do that, but I'm sure that we could probably hold off on that and the full 40 will get us again. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I
yes,
listened to some of the beginning and the end. I got a lot of people in there. So cool for them. And I'm sure that they are bracing for that scenario as well if Villanova lose this game. I don't think anybody thinks that they will, but if they do, I'm sure they've already got a little something in the works for a little therapy
I'm
session.
sure. I'm sure. Yeah, that's all we gotta say. We're gonna move on from that. All right. To keep in the chronological order here, we're gonna go to the premier game of the Big Five this week. Obviously between two Big Five teams, St. Joe's going to Tom Gola, taking on the Salle. This is Monday, 2 o'clock. And listen, these are obviously two teams we know very, 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 very well. We cover them all the time. Two teams that have their flaws but have talent. Definitely two teams led by their guards. This will be a really interesting matchup. Their first matchup in A-10 play here. My expectations for this, I think I'm gonna go with the LaSalle win here. I think they're gonna take care of their home floor. They've been playing better basketball as of late. Actually, I'd say they're playing good basketball as of late. And St. Joe's, yes, I know they blew out Loyola Chicago, but they have not been playing good basketball outside of that. I think they're gonna get it done. I think they have the coaching advantage. And yeah, I mean, I think that their momentum from these games, even the tough loss against Fordham, I think, the momentum from the games that they won and that will carry over. And I think they'll be able to take care of St. Joe's. But how do you see this one playing out?
So yeah, I'm right there with you. I think LaSalle wins. You look at Billy Lang's tenure at St. Joe's when he's had to play against LaSalle. I believe he's 3-7 or 4-7. A couple games that they've played in the A-10 tournament. They were 0-3 against LaSalle last year, losing both games. Actually, last year they played on Martin Luther King Day. It was on CBS. It was a national TV game, and they blew a lead to LaSalle in the second half and ended up losing. And then if it gets worse, when they played at Tom Gola Arena, St. Joe's was up 36-24 at halftime, and they lost 49-48 because they scored 12 points in the second half. And then they lost in the A-10 tournament to LaSalle on the opening day. I'm going to go with LaSalle here. Billy Lang does not have a good head coaching record head-to-head against LaSalle since he's been the coach at Hawk Hill. Now in comes Fran Dunphy, obviously, at LaSalle. I think LaSalle is playing better right now. They could easily be on a 3-game win streak in the conference. The better coach, the team that's playing better. I think they will win tomorrow. I'm actually going to try and go to this game. I think I'm going to try and do a Big Five double header of my own. I'm going to try and go to this game, and then I'll be working at the Penn Princeton game, so I'll be at the Palestra later. But I do think LaSalle wins here. Nice to have it. We haven't had a Big Five game in a while, obviously, because non-conference play ended. But it'll be nice to have that back in our lives. But yeah, I'm going to go LaSalle here. I think they're playing better. They're at home. They got the better coach, and I think they're going to want to put on a big performance after they easily could have beat Fordham in their last game. So yeah, I will take LaSalle. Billy Lang hasn't been very good against LaSalle as the head coach of the Hawks. Coaching advantage, team is playing better. I'm going to take LaSalle here to pick up a Big Five and another A-10 win.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I definitely think they will take care of business on their home floor. So looking forward to that one. You did mention that Princeton Penn game. We're going to go to that next. That is Monday at 7 p.m. at the Palestra. This is going to be a doozy. This is, arguably one of the premier matchups in the Ivy League so far. And I know Penn and Cornell played last week, and that did not go well for the Quakers. But hopefully this one will go different. But this Princeton team definitely, they're a very quality team. 102nd in KenPom. Some things they do well. They are 29th in the country in effective field goal percentage, so they do shoot the ball pretty well. They are third in giving up offensive rebounds in the country. So really, really great there. So they don't give up a ton of offensive rebounds at all. They are 18th in the country in 2-point percentage. And their best player is Tosan Owoma. And he averages 12, 6, and 5. So he does a whole lot for them. Listen, this will be a hard game for Penn. They just came off a really bad loss to Dartmouth, a team that they easily should have beaten. And this team is a far step up in class from Dartmouth, I think. So what are your expectations for this one? I'll go after you, but I want to hear your opinions first.
So unfortunately for Penn, they've had trouble playing against Mitch Henderson in this team. So they've lost their last 6 matchups against Princeton. They've kind of had their number. You talk about Tosan Owoma. He can score in the paint. He can take a big off the dribble. If Spinoza was forced to play out on him, he can take him off the dribble. But just a thing to note here about, what Princeton's going to do. Obviously, everybody knows the term Princeton offense if you know college basketball. And, obviously, shocking, that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to run. So what they're going to do is they're going to spread you out. The backdoor cut is what they're looking for. Now, the thing is, Penn is a team that likes to cut backdoor and kind of do the same thing and play slow and play in the half court. So they should obviously kind of know what to do here and know what's coming because they like to do that themselves. But if you're going to pack the paint, not allow for that, they're going to shoot threes, but they want to slow this game down. They're 233rd in offensive possession. That just shows you that they want to slow this game down. A lot of passes, a lot of movement. They want to catch the defense off guard, get matchups that they like, beat you on backdoor cuts if you're going to be lazy and watch the ball. So they're going to want to slow this game down. Got to be very aware on defense of guys moving. You're going to have to be, head on a swivel of guys cutting backdoor, a lot of movement, a lot of passes. You got to make sure you're in the right position and doing your thing. So that's what Princeton's going to want to do. These are two teams that don't force a lot of turnovers. I think this is going to be a slow game, not a whole lot of turnovers to allow the opponent to get out in transition. I think it's going to be a slow game, probably pretty low scoring. But I'm going to take Penn to get back on track here. Princeton's another team that doesn't really shoot free throws that well. So if this is going to be a close game, which I think it will, I think that definitely favors the Quakers. I think Jordan Dingle and Clark Slackert get bounce back performances from both of them and carry them to a win here. This is one of the oldest rivalries in college basketball. And look, both teams need this win. They're both coming off Ivy League losses here, but I'm going to go with Penn here to sneak out a win. We gotta like keep track of who we're picking because I feel like I never picked against the Big 5 teams. I might have a pretty bad record.
I know. I feel like we're not bad. Picking these games because we don't like say often. Like maybe once an episode we'll say like, oh, I think this person's gonna win this game, and I feel like usually we're pretty accurate. But I think we're actually gonna go on different sides of the aisle here because I think I'm gonna go with Princeton in this one. I just don't like the way that Penn's been playing basketball lately. Obviously the shooting woes with Slackert and Dingle that can get fixed, and they will get fixed. They're arguably, like we talked about, the best backcourt in the country in terms of scoring. But listen, this Princeton team really does shoot the ball well. They're good on offense, and I think that Penn's defense might get exposed a little bit here. They gave up 75 to Dartmouth, who did not have a good offense. So, I don't want to have insane recency bias, but at the same time, I don't see it right now with this Penn team, and they need to prove it. So this is a game where I'm going to go on the other side and say, hey, you need to prove it to me. And until then, I'm gonna pick a really good team. It's not going to be with all the teams they play. Obviously, if they were matched up on a team like Dartmouth's level again, I'd probably pick Penn because they are the more talented team. But I don't think they're the better team right now in this matchup. So I'm gonna go with Princeton. I hope I'm wrong because obviously I want to see the Big 5 teams do well, but I'm gonna go with Princeton in this one. Maybe I'll try to go to that one too. So we'll see. See what time I get done work tomorrow on Monday. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Princeton in this one. So all right, one more game, not on Monday though. On Wednesday at 7 p.m. at the Leah Core Center, we got East Carolina coming to town. This game, of course, was the first game that Temple played in American conference play down in Greenville, North Carolina. They won 59-57 in that one. Very close game. Listen, they are better than this ECU team, but this ECU team is not awful either. The 203rd Ken Palm, a couple things they do well. They're 47th at offensive rebound percentage, which is, definitely an area where Temple did really well against Memphis, and hopefully they can continue to do that in this one on the other side, of course. But East Carolina, 283rd effective field goal percentage. So they don't shoot the ball very well, which is probably why they're able to get so many offensive rebounds. and they are 280th in free throw percentage. So they don't, they're not really great at the line, which could help a Temple team out who struggles closing games. If they're in a scenario where East Carolina's missing free throws down the stretch. I think Temple wins this one. Obviously crushing loss to Memphis on Sunday, but they'll have a few days to bounce back. And I think they're the better team here, and they've been playing better as of late. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, so I'm right. I'm right there with you. I do think they'll win this game. Now they have this win at home after playing on the road at ECU, like you said, the open conference play. But you look at the last time these two teams played. You talk about the offensive rebounding from East Carolina. They won on the glass. The only thing that kept this game close was that they both turned the ball over a ton. And it was kind of a slop fest. You look at the shooting splits in that game for East Carolina. 27% from the field, 23% from three,
It was
57% from the line. I mean, they were not good. You talk about their shooting numbers, they're sub 200 easily in everything in all three in free throw, 2-point and 3-point percentage. So they're not offensively, they're not a team that's going to shoot well. I have to imagine they would probably shoot better than that the next game and won't shoot as bad. But still, you talk about the offensive rebound percentage, that's why this game was close, with them winning on the glass. So if you're Temple, please cut down on the turnovers. Please cut down on the turnovers, and you stop them. For a team that does not shoot the ball well, don't give them second and third opportunities. You win on the glass, you cut down the turnovers. They should have no problem win this game again. So I will take Temple. They're showing me some toughness and some competitiveness in league play here. And I think that they're going to have a very, very sour taste in their mouth. Of course, with the loss today on the buzzer beater, I think they'll come out. I think they'll put up a big win here. Now, it won't be as close. I do think they'll pull away here and they'll win by a good margin here. But cut down the turnovers. You win on the glass. It's not rocket science, man. So you do those two things. I think that they can win by a couple more possessions than they did the last time they played, and it won't be as close. So you do those two things. Also, I think they're due for a good shooting game as well. You talk about how poorly they shot from three. Zach Hicks, 0-6. Hyseer Miller, 0-7. Caleb Battle, 6 points. I think they're due for a good game as well. So they keep bringing that toughness. They make it a rock fight. Hopefully results in a nice sizable win for them. So I will take the Owls to bounce back and complete the season sweep of the Pirates.
Absolutely. And definitely a very winnable game for them, as obviously they went into their place and they won. So I definitely think, I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I think by maybe 2 or 3 possessions, they can definitely take care of this one on their home floor. So Wednesday at 7 is that one. So be on the lookout for that, because that is the only other midweek Big Five basketball, because everything else is on Monday. So not a ton outside of Monday, but very action packed for Monday. So we'll see with that. That's pretty much all we got here. Do you have any final thoughts here before we sign off?
No. Hopefully these teams can get some wins. It's been a rough year for the Big Five. If I had any fault in the reason why the Big Five's had such a bad year, I will take the blame. I feel bad if that's the case.
We will
I hope our
equally take the
podcast
blame.
didn't bring any bad juju, and that's been the reason. But just want to see these teams pick up some wins here. Now, obviously, St. Joe's, LaSalle, somebody's going to have to lose tomorrow, but you just hope that these teams can get a win. It's a new week, new opportunities, some big games coming up. Temple's going to end up playing Houston a week from today. So, big opportunities in the horizon, more games coming. Let's get some wins, Big Five. What do you say?
How about it? How about we get some
would be
wins? I
nice.
agree. Yeah, it'll be all right. Yeah, that's pretty much all we got though. So as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in and consuming all of our content. We very, very, very much appreciate it. You have no idea. And to continue to do so, make sure you like and subscribe on our YouTube. Make sure you follow us on social media at Big Five Pod. Definitely make sure you listen to our audio only versions on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you want to follow our personals too, obviously I'm Kyle Morello 4. He's at Jake Copestick. So we have our own opinions on our own accounts sometimes too, but our main Big Five things obviously are tweeted at Big Five Pod. So make sure you tune in there. And that's pretty much all I got. Happy holiday weekend. Happy MLK Day. Go enjoy some basketball. Definitely remember what the day is about, of course. And we will see you guys mid next week because we got some interesting games coming up for the weekend. So until then, we'll see you.